Good evening. Welcome into another edition of the PowerMizzou.com podcast. This time, a post-game basketball show. We will do a few of these this year. Gabe, DeArmond here at Mizzou Arena. We're hoping to do 8 to 10 shows. Hey, if Mizzou's a little better than maybe we have thought they were, maybe we'll do more than 8 to 10. But anyway, we're going to hang out with you guys after basketball games, the way we do after football games. It'll be Drew King instead of Gerard Hamilton. He will join me in a minute. And our post-game basketball shows this year going to be brought to you by the Bruning Law Firm. Their information is going to be scrolling across the bottom of the screen throughout. You can get in touch with them for a free consultation at 573-400-2796. When you are hurting, time matters. The Bruning Law Firm has your back. Their team of personal injury lawyers use data and experience to achieve real results fast. Look, I can vouch. AJ Bruning, these guys have been members of our website for a long time. They are huge Missouri fans. I've gotten to know them a little bit personally just through back and forth working with them over the last few years. And I can tell you that they're going to take care of everybody, right? That's their job. But if you're a Mizzou fan, they definitely want to take care of you. Again, 573-400-2796 for a free consultation with the Bruning Law Firm. Appreciate them joining us and partnering with us all basketball season. Also appreciate Drew King joining us, who is in some other random room overlooking the court at Mizzou Arena where Trent Pierce is shooting three-pointers. Drew, this is a significantly different show than I thought we were going to be doing about an hour ago.
Yeah, it didn't look great for a while there, and then they pulled it out at the end, you know? And it's not the first time they've done that. Like, I was there for the Minnesota game last year, but this one, it did feel a little bit different just because it wasn't all rushed at the end, right? Like, they still had to keep their foot on the pedal after they regained the lead. So I thought that it was a pretty promising game for them.
And I mean, look, this game was won in the first 3 minutes of the second half. They were down 16 at halftime. And I don't want to overstate the importance of one meaningless basket with 2 seconds left in the first half, but they were down 51-33, and Mark Mitchell got a dunk that made it 51-35 with 2.5 seconds left, and you're thinking, so what, doesn't matter. Like, I can't help but think that sent them into the locker room at least with something to feel good about. It ended a 17-0. Like, a 17-2 run sucks, but it's better than a 17-0 run. And then they came out and they made an 8-0 run in the first 2:03 of the second half, and Mark Madsen called a timeout. And you look and you go, 8 minutes with 17 seconds, 8 points with 17 minutes left is really not all that intimidating.
Yeah, but I think what actually was the change there was that Cal wasn't getting into the paint anymore. And I think that's kind of where the tide turned, was where Mizzou kind of dug its heels in on defense. That first half, they were playing pretty timid because they didn't want to get into foul trouble, and then they ended up getting into foul trouble anyway. The second half, they got a lot more aggressive, a lot more physical, and kind of dared the refs to call the fouls a little bit tighter. And it worked. Like, Cal got slowed down significantly. I think they only, let's see, what did they shoot? 14 for 30 from the field with 10 turnovers. Like, that's a big difference from 51 points in the first half. So, yeah, I think that that energy on defense is kind of what led to Mizzou going on the run. And so, like you said, like 8 points in 3 minutes ain't that impressive, but holding the other team to 2 or 0 points, whatever it was during that stretch, that's the more impressive part for me.
Right. And what I meant was that got them within 8 points with 17 minutes left. Like, that's not intimidating. You say, all we got to do is make up a point every 2 minutes. We're good. I want to invite all you guys. I know we got 120 people in here. I think we're going to get more. So comments in the chat, questions, we will get to them as we go along. Certainly, I've got a few voicemails downloaded, so we'll get to that. And we'll probably do this kind of like basketball where I'll let Drew go, or kind of like football where I'll let Drew go a little bit because he has more writing left to do than I do. And I'll hang out with you guys for about half an hour before I get my story started. You know what else led to comeback, Drew? 22 of 26 from the field in the second half. I mean, like, look, let's take the devil's advocate point of view of this. Like, was this just as simple as all of a sudden they hit everything they looked at, and so they like? I'm not saying it is. There are people who are going to say that. So, is this as simple as, hey, even a blind squirrel sometimes, and everything went in, and 22 of 26, of course they won?
That's a good question, Gabe. I think for one, Tamar Bates turned it up a little bit.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think it's not, and here's why.
Okay.
It's not like they hit 14 threes in the second half.
Correct.
They took good shots. Good shots go in. Mark Mitchell scored 12 points in the second half. He was 5 for 5 from the floor, and his longest shot was about 8 inches from the rim. Which, by the way, I encourage that. That's about his about range. How far away I'd want him to shoot.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I think I agree with you there. Like, they got 34 points in the paint in the second half. Like, that's a pretty good number, and outscored Cal there, like held Cal to 20 points in the paint. So, like I said, it was a lot better shot selection. And Dennis Gates talks about, simplifying the offense. I kind of think it was just that they started getting turnovers, Gabe, like, and running out in the fast break, getting easy transition buckets. But still, like 85% from the field. And you have Mark Madsen, who's been around basketball his whole life, saying, I've never seen that before. It's not going to be like that most nights. And I think the squirrel may be found in an acorn, but there was some things that can translate night to night, I think.
I agree. It wasn't just as simple as, they threw everything in from 20 feet away. They got good shots. But when Madsen said that, like, I legitimately thought he was exaggerating. I was like, there's no way they shot almost 90%. And then I looked at it. I said, oh, my God, they really kind of did.
Well, and like, to your point about Mitchell, like, Mitchell wasn't exactly, like, jacking up threes in the first half. He had 2 attempts.
He took 4.
I'm only seeing 2.
Okay, I must have misread the box score then. Yeah.
But he was still, like, 3 for 9 from the field and had a bunch of missed bunnies right at the rim, right? And so – that second half, you saw him just be a better finisher. So, like I said, I don't know that it's completely replicable. Is that a word?
Replicable.
But yeah, like I think that they just kind of found a switch that works for him, and I think it was especially impressive they did it without Caleb Grill, because that's usually the guy who would do it for him.
So let's I'm going back through the comments, and this is the easiest place to start. Colin Ray, I wasn't able to watch the game, but what the hell happened in the first half? I mean, that's like, I think that if we didn't have to be like professional and there wasn't a certain decorum and a dance we do at press conferences, that would be like, I would just go in and go, Dennis, seriously, what the hell happened in the first half?
Yeah, that's a valid question. Yeah, so
but it wasn't the whole first half. It was only the last 4 minutes.
It was the last 4 minutes, and it was weird because I was writing my quick thoughts at the half, right? And every time I look up, Cal was hitting another 3. I think a lot of it obviously had to do with Josh Gray and Ant Robinson getting into foul trouble. Those 2 guys were Mizzou's best defenders tonight, point blank. And so without them, Cal got into the paint a ton, even with them on the floor in the first half. And kind of had their way inside. And so once Ant and Josh Gray got into foul trouble, you saw them go after that even more. So that's kind of my read on what happened. And then once that happened, like, it opened up everything for them, right? They started hitting threes, and Andre Stojakovic started getting going. So that was kind of my read of it.
Yeah, I mean, so Ant scored their first 9 points of the game, and when he went off the floor, all of a sudden it was like, well, I don't know who scores. And then Marquez Work actually had a stretch where he scored about 7 in a row. And you thought, okay, he's going to be the guy to pick up the slack. But then I thought it was interesting that Gabe said it just kind of took Tony Perkins a while to get going tonight. And, sometimes that happens. And I think you said at halftime, like, is Tamar Bates present? He didn't do anything in the first half. I mean, they just didn't have anybody doing anything. And I thought 2 guys really turned this game. The first one I thought was Aiden Shaw, which is a weird thing to say for a guy that had 2 points and 3 rebounds. But I wrote this in Instant Reaction, and I'm curious your opinion on it. it's just a more exciting basketball game when he's there. Like, he is flying. He hit the floor like 3 times. He blocked a 3-pointer. He had one of the most ridiculous alley-oops I've ever seen. He's throwing himself all over the floor. Like, even when he doesn't play well, he brings the energy level up in the building. And there was no energy in this building. And then Aiden Shaw started doing some things, and I felt like the people actually were like, oh, hey, we're at a sporting event. We can, like, yell and cheer and stuff.
The stand, yeah. I totally agree with you. I think that Aiden's kind of realized that those are the kind of plays he has to make to stay on the floor. And so I know that that's something that Coach Gates has been on him a lot through his first 2 years about, making high energy plays, running full sprint. And I think that, like you said, like, he might not fill up the box score every night, but he's going to make an impact when he's out there. And so on a night when they were kind of dead in the water at the end of the first half, he was absolutely a guy to get him unstuck, get him out of the mud.
Yeah, and then the second guy I think was more noticeable, and I don't think you have to be a basketball genius to figure it out, but with 12:58, Josh Gray, who at one point in that game you said he was plus 19. I don't know what he ended up, but like, Missouri is clearly a better basketball team when he's on the floor, whether that makes any sense or not. Like, even if he's not scoring, they're better when he's on the floor. With 12:58 to go, he leaves with his 4th foul. And, like, legitimately, a couple minutes before that, Gates had put Peyton Marshall in. And I joked with Callum McAndrew, who sits on the other side of me on press row. I said, did he just look down the bench and go, well, hey, you haven't played yet, so it's time for you to play, right? Well, no, method to the madness. I mean, played a couple minutes, leaves. Gray gets his 4th foul like 20 seconds later. Peyton Marshall played the next 9.5 minutes, scored 6 points, 3 rebounds, had an assist, I thought the difference in that game when he came in, Missouri was down 2, and then they outscored Cal by like 7 points over the next 9 minutes with him in the game.
So I wouldn't go so far as saying he was the difference in the game.
I mean, Anthony Robinson was the difference.
Yeah, but you're right in that, like, those minutes without Josh Gray in the first half were horrible, and Peyton Marshall gave him a look that allowed them to keep a rim protector in the paint without, sacrificing anything offensively, right? He was actually a big help on offense and held his own on defense. So those were some really big time minutes from him. So I agree with you, like, because you couldn't keep going with the Aiden Shaw, Mark Mitchell, 2 big man look. Like, the small ball lineups weren't working, and he let them get away from that. So I think that he definitely
he's going to be a guy that Missouri fans absolutely fall in love with. But first of all, because he just doesn't look like a basketball player. So, like, I got a text from a friend mid-second half, and he said, just turned on my first basketball game of the year. Like, these early season games, a lot of people don't really watch them. And like 5 minutes later, I get a text that says, I don't know who any of these guys are, but I love this Marshall dude. Mm-hmm. What's his story? So I sent him the video of Peyton throwing the ball to the guy that was laying out of bounds. And I was like, oh, by the way, he's lost like 45 pounds, and like, he's just going to be a fan favorite. And we got to interview him. And I mean, he's like the happiest kid on this team. He's a great quote. He legitimately said, in high school, if I touched anybody, they just called a foul because I was too big. He said, you do that in college, everybody's the same size. You just tell them to get in the weight room. And I mean, he's really going to be a kid over the next, maybe not as much this year, but I think over the next 2 or 3 years that the fan base loves.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the hope when they brought him in, is like, we have this, because you can still run an offense through the post in college still, right? It's not all 3-pointers just yet, and we see, like, UConn have a lot of success with big men. So Marshall's a guy with that kind of potential where, like, you could realistically build a team with him as your starting center and feel confident about it.
Yeah. I see Gold Flame saying there's loud background noise. Look, guys, we're sitting in Mizzou Arena. There aren't windows here. There are people cleaning. There are people taking shots. I can't do anything about the noise that's around. I mean, this is where we're doing the show. There's no windows on the suites we're sitting in right now. So hopefully you guys can hear okay. Hopefully it's going to work. But so something was pointed out earlier in the chat, and we've talked about this. It has been 365 days since Missouri beat a real basketball team. That was Wichita State last year. It's been 370 since they beat a power conference team, which was also in the ACC SEC Challenge when they won at Pittsburgh last year. Like, they needed this one, man. Like, you lose this one, and guess who the next 3 Power 5 teams you're playing are? Kansas, Illinois, and Auburn. Not ideal. I mean, you were going to be maybe looking at I think it's as simple as this. You lose this game, we're not talking about anything fun. Like, I'm not even talking about NCAA tournament. You need this one just to get some fans interested again and maybe have a little bit of momentum toward like a 500 NIT season.
Yeah, because like you said, like Cal, they're not bad. They're just kind of okay, right? They're not going to be a team that challenges for the ACC title this year.
Especially down 2 starters tonight.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Is like, let's not get carried away either. This wasn't a huge win for Missouri. Like, yes, they needed it, but they are also going to need some bigger wins this year. So yeah, it was important. It does remind me a little bit of the Minnesota game where like, you had to have this one if you wanted any shot at the postseason, but it also like it wasn't all sunshine, you know. Like,
right.
There was some big red flags in that first half.
That's the thing. Somebody earlier said if this was last year's team, they don't come back from 18 points down. No, last year's team legitimately did 19 points down in about 9.5 minutes. Yeah. They did it at Minnesota, and then they basically won like one more game the rest of the year. So this does not like that second half doesn't. I'm conflicted on this one because, yeah, they have that second half in them. They also have the first half in them. I mean, I've seen them play 2 real teams this year, and they have no-showed for about a 10-minute period in both games. And the truth is, if you play that game against most teams the rest of the year, if you play the last 5 minutes of the first half that Missouri played tonight against almost everybody in the SEC, second half doesn't even matter. You're done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're not going to let you come back.
Exactly. Like Kansas is going to be an interesting one in that respect, right? Because if you have a 10-minute cold spell against Kansas, like it might be another 40-point loss, like it was 2 years ago, you know. So, they can't afford a whole lot more of those.
Somebody's asking how to leave a voicemail. Go to that speakpipe.com/powermizzou. Just talk into your phone, leave it. I've already got a few loaded. If more come in, I'll try to load them, and we'll talk about it a little bit after, talk about the voicemails and stuff after we let Drew go. Let's see. Interesting. Peja Stojakovic's kid, he played well tonight. Stephon Marbury's kid did not play, I don't think. And Kiki Vandeweghe's nephew or whatever it was did not play. But like a lot of famous offspring in this game.
Yeah. And Andre looked pretty good too. He hasn't been quite the shooter that his dad has been, but does a lot more stuff on the ball. So he's kind of a fun player to watch. I'm curious to see if he'll have any pro future down the line. I totally saw why like Cal wanted him out of the transfer portal. Like that's the kind of guy you can build a full team around, a whole program around for sure.
Yeah. Hey guys, and look, I see somebody saying something about the feedback issues. I'm going to go to the end. I don't know if you guys are having a huge problem, but the truth is, like, I've literally got guys vacuuming the bleachers 10 rows away from me. I mean, if we're going to do a post-game show from Mizzou Arena, like, we've got to put up with some noise. If it is bad enough that, like, it affects the quality of what you guys are listening to, let me know. I'll try to figure out another option, but I can't tell guys not to take shots, and I can't tell the cleaning staff not to do their jobs. So we're doing the best they can. And yeah, we'll figure something out. But this is kind of where we're at right now. So, Drew, before I let you go, let's talk just for a minute about Sunday. Like, I don't know, is there a shot?
Oof. I'm not gonna say there's a 0% chance, but it's gonna take like what we saw in the second half for a full game. They don't necessarily have to shoot 85%, but they also can't give up a 17-0 run.
If they shoot 85%, I think they'll win.
Yeah, exactly. No, but like they've got to bring the margin for error is so low against Kansas, and I think that's kind of where my concern is here. Is just that this is a kind of a flawed team right now, and against Kansas, you can't show them any flaws. So it would take a A+ game from them to come out with the win, in my opinion.
Well, and the truth is, it's still about Kansas more than it's about Missouri.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people don't want to hear this, but if Kansas plays an A game, you lose. I don't care what you do. Mm-hmm. If Kansas plays a B game, you probably lose no matter what you do. Kansas has to come in and be off. And look, I've seen, and I know, Drew, I know you have not seen this. I have seen this. I have seen worse Missouri teams than this win this game against, frankly, better Kansas teams. But it's not easy. It's Bill Self's teams tend to come in ready for this game, and I will be interested to see how ready Dennis Gates' team is for this game.
Yeah. And like last year, it wasn't that bad, right? Like I think Mizzou had a 9-point lead for most of the first half. Like,
yeah,
if they can keep it competitive like that, that's a very big confidence booster.
Right, and the key is look, you're going to hit a couple minute stretch where things don't great. And I agree, Daniel, I'm not saying KU is unbeatable. I'm saying they are unbeatable for this Missouri team if they play an A game. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If KU comes in and plays an A game, Missouri's going to lose the game. But what you have to avoid is letting they're going to go on a 7-0 run at some time. That's fine. 7-0 you can handle. You can't let it turn into 17-0 or 32-6. And that's what Missouri's done against them the last couple years. It's like as soon as that run hit 2 or 3 baskets, you just saw it coming, and Missouri couldn't do anything to stop it.
Yeah, Gabe, I'm not going to lie. I was distracted while you were talking. I was watching Jacob Cruz knock about 3 3-pointers from the logo down in a row.
Oh, okay. I would that would be a great thing to see.
Sorry about that.
He's on 5 now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about Anthony Robinson, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, because I think we're witnessing like a real star starting to shine here. Like, because how many assists did he have? 6 assists, 0 turnovers against a team that was trying to go after him. Like, I don't remember how many Mizzou had. Mizzou had 11, right? That's not a little bit. And Anthony Robinson had 0 of them. He made some incredible passes. You mentioned the alley-oop to Aiden Shaw. Like, that would have been a 3-pointer, even if Aiden Shaw missed.
Like, I legitimately thought Anthony Robinson made the pass.
And then, like, he also had this really nice no-look bounce pass to Mark Mitchell cutting on the baseline. Like, those are some high IQ reads from him. And then on top of that, like, he's just a complete foul magnet. Had
15 free throws.
15 free throws. Like,
and Dennis Gates was very angry about the 2 he missed.
Yeah. So is Ant's mom, apparently. But
right, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of mom and grandma talk in tonight's postgame press conference.
There was. But with Caleb Grill out, like, you knew somebody had to step up into that go-to option role, and Ant had it right away. He said, I knew they were going to go into drop coverage a lot. I was prepared to attack that. And I just thought, like, he's a guy that can carry the load for you. Like, I don't know that they're going to miss Caleb Grill too much because they have Ant Robinson on the floor. So on top of that, like, everything he did defensively, Javon Blackshear had 11 points in the first half. And then they let Ant get back out there after he picked up 2 in the first. And Javon Blackshear didn't score again. Like, he was 0 for 6 from the field. So I feel like that was a huge momentum turn for the game. And Cal didn't really know how to respond after that.
All right, Drew, let's end you with this here, and then we'll let you go. Devontae wants to know, what would we say is the ceiling of this team with what we've seen so far?
The ceiling. I'd say, like, probably a little bit shorter than what the first team was. So maybe like 23 wins, and maybe just making it to the NCAA tournament rather than winning the game. I haven't seen enough in any of these games against like the big schools that tells me they can be better than that.
All right, I'm going to go a little different here. This is kind of a cop-out. You hope the ceiling for this team is we don't know what the ceiling is. Like, that we haven't seen anything that indicates it, that Peyton Marshall suddenly has turned into a guy that can contribute, that T.O. Barrett has become a guy who can give you some minutes, that Tony Perkins has just been hurt and we haven't really seen him play well yet, other than the Lindenwood game, that Caleb Grill comes back and he's what he's been, and that this is like, the hope is that this is and I don't want to say Kentucky, like they're not going to go 38-2 or anything like that. But this is kind of one of those teams that you go, yeah, they didn't look very good in November, but man, you don't want to play them in February, right? And like, I think regular season, the ceiling for this team is probably about 20, 21 wins. But if you can be playing your best ball in the last 2 weeks of the regular season and you get 21 wins and you get in, then who knows what can happen, right? So I don't think this team's a top 4 seed or anything, but I think the goal is just, 2 months from today, Valentine's Day, we're talking about a team of like, okay, I've seen something that I didn't think was going to be there.
Yeah. And that's kind of how we felt about that first team, right? Like, we didn't know if they were going to flake out in the first round or make it to a Sweet 16, right? Because it was kind of volatile and you didn't know exactly what to expect night to night. And so this team is also volatile, but we just haven't seen quite the firepower yet. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, say we beat one of KU, Illinois, or Auburn, Yeah, you win one of those games, then we'll have a conversation.
Absolutely.
For sure. But you're going to have to, like, there's a lot of good teams in the SEC. I would say they've got 20. They're 7-1, so they've got 23 games left, I think, in the regular season. 5 non-conference and 18 conference. I would say of those 23 games, 5 of them might be easier than tonight, max.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I was gonna look at some of the scores from the other SEC games. I know. I'm pretty sure
Tennessee won huge. I know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Georgia beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, they did. South Carolina. Somebody beat Boston College, but I don't think that counts.
South Carolina. Arkansas beat Miami by 3.
Okay. Devontae said the SEC is 5-0.
There you go. So pretty tough league. I really think it's a conference that can get 10 teams into the tournament just because of how big it is and because of how many good teams they have. But it's going to be a really competitive fight to get into the top 10.
For sure. All right, Drew, we're going to let you go right, man. I'm going to hang out with the people for a little bit longer because that's what I do. I'm a man of the people. All right. Drew King off to right. That may help the noise factor a little bit. I think what we were getting is some kind of echo from Drew's computer there. So we'll get that figured out. But anyway, we'll hang out here for a little while. We got some voicemails. I know that. So I've got 3 or 4 of them loaded. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to check if we've got other ones. Again, guys, I've not heard these. I don't know what they're going to say. I'm going to find out with the rest of you.
What's up, Gabe? I'm sure a lot of people, as well as yourself, will be saying the same thing, but the leap that Anthony Robinson has taken from year 1 to year 2 is just super fun to watch. Did not know he had that kind of offensive skill, at least as a sophomore, but super encouraging. And what I enjoy watching just as much as the way he plays defense. He went to the Des Moines Hodge School of Defense, and that he's super havoc-y and goes for steals and whatnot, and kind of just seems to be always sprinting, but super encouraging. Also, shout out to Peyton Marshall. I know it wasn't always perfect at the end there, but had a couple really nice passes as well as a couple buckets. Could obviously work on the free throws, but a win's a win, and just very much encouraged by the comeback and selfishly thankful that the air won't be let out of the building against Kansas on Sunday, even if they might not win. Losing tonight would have definitely deflated a lot of people, but now I think there'll be more buy-in, and that's always good, more exciting. MIZ.
Look, I agree with all that. I mean, Anthony Robinson is clearly the story tonight. And I'll be honest, guys, like coming into this year, I didn't think Ant had that in. I wasn't sure about him. You saw some flashes last year, but I wasn't sure. He's been phenomenal. Tonight was his best night, but he's been really good all year. And but that call brought up a good point. The biggest part about winning this game is, look, guys, the Missouri basketball fan base is still in a real bad place. Like the first 8 games this year, it's mostly just been people waiting for a shoe to drop and then immediately jumping online and telling you how bad they are. Like at the first sign of anything going wrong. And I know why that is, and some of it's deserved. Look, they went 0-19 last year. And so a lot of it, like I remember talking after the Texas A&M or after the Massachusetts football game when Missouri won that 45-3, people were furious. But the reason was because it was the week after A&M. They were still mad about A&M. So the reaction after Howard, after Eastern Washington, after Lindenwood, that was not about this team. That was about, I'm still pissed off they were 0-18 last year. And and I'm not even saying that's unfair. That was a really bad year that takes a long time to get out of the system. And you don't get it out of the system by beating those teams we're talking about. And you don't get it out of the system by beating Cal, but you do something that fights back against it a little bit, right? Like if they had lost this game, it would have been dreadful all week leading into Kansas, and it still won't be great because this was not a dominating performance or anything. They won 98-93, but at least there's some positivity. If it had been a loss, it would just be 5 days of absolute awful going into the KU game. And now it may not be that. We've got a couple more voicemails, which we'll get to in a minute. But again, I do want to remind you guys here in the middle of the show that the postgame shows brought to you this year during basketball season by our friends at Bruning Legal. AJ Bruning and the guys they're great guys. Known them for a long time. AJ's been on our site. I seriously think since he was in high school. Bruning and Bruning law firm, personal injury lawyers that serve Missouri, Illinois, and Kansas. They use data and experience for a smarter approach, a better result. You can get a free consultation with them, 573-400-2796. And look, they don't get paid unless you get paid. So if they don't get you justice, get the money you deserve out of your case, then they're not going to take money either. I would vouch for these guys, have known them for a while. And I hope you don't get in a situation where you need a lawyer. I think they probably hope you don't get in a situation where you need a lawyer. But if you do, give them a call. All right, let's hop back to the voicemail for a minute.
Hell of a game by Mizzou tonight. I can't believe it's been 2 different teams in it. The first half, after all the rotations we made, I still don't get the rotation thing with Gates, and not keeping the same 5 best players on the court at the time. But the coming out the second half with all the energy they showed and the way they took it to Cal that first 5 to 10 minutes of the half, I mean, if they play like this every game, they will be an NCAA tourney team if we keep playing like this. That's all I've got, but this has been one hell of a showing in the second half. Let's go, Mizzou.
Yeah, no, if they play the way they played in the second half all year, absolutely, they're a tournament team. But here's the thing, guys. I've seen a lot of talk about the rotations being cut down. Well, let's see if it was. Missouri played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Missouri played 13 guys in the second half. Now, Jacob Cruz officially 0 minutes. Honor Boating officially. Okay, so these guys didn't all play in the second half. He played 10 guys in the second half. Trent Pierce played 1 minute. Marcus Allen played 2. So, yeah, he effectively played 8 guys in the second half. Josh Gray only played 5 minutes. Tony Perkins played 8. Aiden Shaw played 9. Then you had Ant Robinson played all 20. Tamar Bates played 13 till he fouled out. Mitchell played 12. Warwick played 15. Marshall played 14. So he did cut it down. You're right about that. And so I think that's something we've all been hoping for and we want to see is instead of 15 guys, maybe let's find 9 that play in a half. And that did happen in the second half. We got one more call here we'll get to and then get back to some of the chat.
Hey, Gabe, Nolan here. I really don't like watching Mizzou play defense. It just seems gimmicky. They can give up a lot of points really quickly. It's kind of feast or famine against good teams. It doesn't really work. They give up a lot of open 3-pointers. It'd be interesting to look at the stats, but it seems like every single team that they play has their best 3-point shooting game against Missouri. And so I don't know. I didn't like watching it last year. I didn't like watching the year before that. When everything's working, they're a fun team to watch. So can't complain about that, as they are an entertaining team to watch at times. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out. But I don't like the way they play defense. I don't like the way he coaches that side of the ball.
I think that's a fair take. That sounds a lot like me in Dennis Gates' first year. Like I had this debate with people every week: is Demoy Hodge a good defensive player? And everybody said, "Well, yeah, he has 8 million steals and blah 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 blah." And I said, "Yeah, but like he steals the ball from behind a lot because he gets beat a lot. It was if he didn't steal the ball, you were scoring." And then last year, Sean East and Nick Honor couldn't stop anybody out front. Last year was a different deal, but even 2 years ago, like. I remember early on, it was Southern Indiana scored 90 points, and then SEMO put up 80 something, I think. And it was, I will say two things. It's a fun style of basketball to watch. It's up and down. They get a lot of points in transition. They run. It's fast paced. They also give up a lot of points. Like this isn't, I don't think he is a coach that is ever going to have a top 20 defense in the country or anything. I don't think that's the style of basketball he plays. So I understand someone, especially maybe if someone grew up watching Norm Stewart's teams, right? Or, Big 8 basketball in the 80s and 90s. I understand if you watch this and say, I don't like them watching them play defense, completely understandable. But the only point is score more than you give up. And they did that tonight. Now, again, so here's kind of how I look at it. When Konzo Martin was here, like their goal was to win every game 65-60. And it was awful to watch, guys. Even the good games weren't fun. I mean, they were rock fights all the time, and it was not fun to watch. And also, you just have no margin for error when that's what you do. When you can only score 60 points, like sometimes you're going to run into a team that just shoots well. Like it's not about your defense. It's just about them shooting well. Sometimes if a team goes, 11 for 17 from 3-point range, sometimes it's not awful defense. Sometimes they shot the ball well. And so if you can only score 65, well, you're going to fall victim to that. Whereas if you can put up 85 a night, then the other team has to keep pace. And yes, they're getting layups and they're getting some easy shots, and that does make it a little easier, but it is still not the easiest thing in the world to go score 85 points. Like if you tell me, obviously you want a team that's really good at both, but if you tell me I'm watching the style that Dennis Gates plays here or the style that Konzo was playing 5 years ago, it's not even a question. What's more entertaining? What's more fun? Like I was mentioning my friends that were texting me and hadn't watched the game yet this year. I mean, a couple of them said, hey, we're at least long and athletic and it's kind of fun to watch. And I know that's not the goal is not, hey, let's have fun out here. The goal is to win basketball games, right? But I think that, that can be like an added little, at least they can get people that are interested in watching them play again. Stewart says all these lineups is a trait of being from the Leonard Hamilton coaching tree. I would agree with that. Mark Fenton says, do you want to keep Honor? That means he needs to get more playing time. Gates has a lot of mouths to feed. Yeah, I mean, it is the whole Honor Boating starting and then disappearing for the rest of the game is kind of a weird thing, but whatever, and look, here's what tonight proved too. Like I said, Peyton Marshall legitimately had not played with about 16 minutes left in that game. And then he comes in, plays like 3 minutes, goes back to the bench, and then he comes in, he ends up with 14 minutes and plays really well and is a big reason they won. Marcus Allen has given them some valuable minutes. Marquez Warwick didn't play at all, really, for the first 4 games or so. He now is kind of an instant offense guy off the bench. I mean, there's only a couple more games. There's between Kansas and Illinois, there's 2 blood donors. And you can still use those for a little experimentation and get guys out on the floor and all that. But after that, we're kind of past the, hey, let's make sure we get a look at everybody and see how it goes. But there is a method to this madness, guys. Now, I understand the frustration with the rotations and how many guys he plays. I get it. It's a bit much for me too. But he's doing it so that, hey, if he needs Peyton Marshall against Auburn or against Tennessee or somebody in February. Well, Peyton Marshall's been out there now and he's done this. if Tony Perkins is hurt and Ant Robinson's in foul trouble, and both those things have already happened, and he needs T.O. Barrett, well, T.O. Barrett's been out there. It's not going to be his first time. I remember way 2000, I guess it would have been, 2008? Blaine Gabbert burned a red shirt to throw like 9 passes against SEMO. And like, I remember asking somebody at the time, I don't get it. What are they doing? And the answer was, well, first of all, Blaine Gabbert's good enough. He's not going to be here 5 years anyway. But the second answer was their first game is against Illinois next year in St. Louis. And Gary doesn't want Blaine Gabbert's the first time he stepped on a field, to be in his hometown against a Big Ten football team. So there's a little bit of, again, if you need these guys in SEC play, like they've been on the floor before in games where there's not as much pressure. So I do think there is some justification for it on that front. Let's see. Boof and Tobacco genuinely can't tell Dennis Gates is a basketball savant or a complete idiot. He's looked like both at times, right? Who shoots the ball if Bates and Grill are out? I mean, here's the hope, honestly. Well, first of all, I think Marquez Warwick does. And I think the hope is that Jacob Cruz does. He's still down on the floor. And I've been watching, like Drew said, I mean, he's making legitimately everything. Now, that's not a game, right? We haven't seen that in a game. So I think there's a hope that the shooter you see in practice eventually translates to a game. It hasn't happened yet. Tony Perkins, I don't think he's a 3-point shooter. He can make some. Ant Robinson can, he's not a 3-point shooter. He could make some every now and then. But I think right now it's Marquez Warwick is the guy beyond Bates and Grill that are shooting the basketball. I'm sure I have missed some of the comments, like, hey, we're trying to run up here after postgame, upload voicemails, deal with the vacuuming. Hopefully that's gotten a little bit better. I'll have to make sure Drew's got something to block out some of the noise next time, because I think it has been a little bit better since it's just been me. But we are going to do this, like I said, after 8 to 10 basketball games this year. We're going to do it after KU. We're planning on doing it after Illinois, depending on the schedule. I've got some things going on around then, but hoping that we're going to be doing it after Illinois. And we're just going to kind of pick some SEC games, right? We don't have a specific schedule. We're not going to do a live show after an 8:00 game because nobody's going to be here at 11:30 on a Wednesday night. So it's going to be weekend games. It's going to be maybe 6:00 games against decent opponents. Like, we're probably not doing one after South Carolina, right? But this is a popular thing all during football season, so we want to make sure that it happens some for basketball. Riley's asking where you can watch the post-game presser. In a lot of instances, I will just use my phone and shoot it. I didn't do that tonight. A couple reasons. First of all, I was doing some stuff right after the game, so when I got down to the press room, I was sitting in the second row, so I would have been holding it up, blocking somebody or shooting the back of someone's head. And second of all, I was also watching Brendan Haygood's live announcement to make sure he picked Missouri like we thought he would. So I did not shoot it tonight. I don't know. KMIZ often puts it out. I don't know if the athletic department does. I will do it after a lot of games. I did not do it tonight. Like I said, for a few reasons. Dylan Bird asking why we don't do a live show in the same room. I don't know, because I'm shooting it on my laptop and we'd be sitting here 6 inches apart. And Drew's going to write, but we'll figure it out, guys. It's the first one. I promise that, hey, again, we'll work things out, right? Just like Dennis Gates' team, not great yet. Nobody's talking NCAA tournament yet. Let's see where they are January 1st. Let's see where they are February 1st. So stick with us, give us some time. We'll get things figured out. I've only been doing this 21 years, guys, but I've only been doing this part of it for a couple. So we'll get it going. Mike wants to know the prediction for KU Mizzou. I mean, look, KU's going to be a favorite in that game, right? KU is the better team. They're more talented. Here's what I want to see. I want to see the first 8 minutes of that game, because I was talking to a friend today, and 2 years ago when Kansas came here, the 90 minutes before that game were so fun. and everybody was so juiced up. And the fans cared about it so much. And then the game started, and it looked like the players didn't really understand it, right? Like nobody had told them what this rivalry was. And it's not the same anymore, guys. KU fans are right about that. Not being in the same conference, it's not the same. But for 40 minutes when they play, like it does make all of us that saw it remember Thomas Gardner and Christian Moody and Anthony Peeler and all the Lee Coward and all the great moments that have happened in that thing. And I mean, when I was in college, a pretty bad Mizzou team, I think they finished 16-15, beat number 1 Kansas with Jock Vaughn, Rafe LaFrance. Scott Pollard was on that team. I don't know if Nick Collison was on that team, but I mean, like they had dudes, and KU had Corey Tate and Tyron Lee and DB Ray and won that game. So like, I'm not sure that anybody at Missouri understands what that used to be. And you know who does understand it? Bill Self does. And he gets his team to, because he's been in it before. So whether it's Dennis Gates, whether he brings somebody in, whatever, I think this team needs somebody to make them understand not just what this rivalry used to be, but what it's going to mean to the 15,061 people that are here on Sunday, because it is different. And it's important, no question. And look, I don't think a lot of Missouri fans are going to walk in here expecting to win on Sunday. But I think if we see a repeat of the last couple years where they get beat by 35 and it frankly just doesn't look like there's a lot of fight, that's going to make people upset. There's no question. So I think the goal is just get to the under 8 timeout and have a shot, right? And if that means you're up 6 or down 6 or whatever, just get to the under 8 timeout and have a shot, and you'll take your chances then. I agree. This is not like the best KU team I've ever seen. I watched KU play Duke. Watch that whole game. Duke has more talent. Duke's got better players. Now, KU had a better coach. KU was tougher. But this is not like it. Hunter Dickinson's in college for a 5th year because he's not a pro. KJ Adams in college for a 4th year because he's not a pro. DeJuan Harris in college for 14th year because he's not a pro. Like, they don't have Duke talent. They don't have Kentucky talent. They don't have Auburn or Alabama talent. They can be gotten. Do I think this Missouri team's going to get them? I probably certainly wouldn't put any money on that, but I think like they need to hear from somebody or watch some of the old fights or the old highlights. I don't know, to know what this is going to mean, because I know a lot of people get mad at me. A lot of Missouri fans don't want to play this game. Kansas is better. Why let them come in and win? A lot of Missouri fans want to be done with it forever. I want to play this game because it makes me remember all the MUKU games that I grew up watching, that I watched in college, that I covered for 15 years or 12 years before Missouri went to the SEC. So I'd like to see it. And Sammy says Shaw, Bates, Grill, and Mark Mitchell might have some hate towards KU. But here's the thing, man. The last time that game was played before the last couple of years, I mean, those guys were, 10? They don't have the frame of reference. It's not their fault. It's not Dennis Gates' fault. There's just not a frame of reference for what it is my only point. Bill Self's the only guy still in this thing that's been in it when it was what it was. But like I was saying, I mean, it still is. There's a lot of passion there. And look, you want to talk about kickstarting the season. You want to talk about turning around the way people feel? Go out and win that game on Sunday. Go do that. Okay, we're going to have a little fun. Do I expect it? Absolutely don't expect it. Would love to see a competitive game. Take your chances with 8 minutes left. See what happens. So, guys, again, appreciate you hanging out here with us. Do me a favor before we wrap up. Just hit the like button, hit the the share button, the subscribe button, whatever. If you subscribe, you're going to know when we go live, so you don't have to sit around and wait for me for 40 minutes during a press conference. You just get a notification. You'll pop on and you'll check us out. We're going to do this a few more times during basketball season, brought to you, like I said, by the Bruning Law Firm. Do want to stress, like, guys, these shows are largely happen because we have sponsors. We have people that help us out. So get in touch with the Bruning Law Firm at 573-400-2796. Give you a free consultation. They're not going to get paid unless you get paid. They're a personal injury law firm. And again, we certainly hope that you do not need their services. But a lot of people get in situations. I mean, I had my son was in an accident last year, and we needed a personal injury attorney. So sometimes it happens. You can't help it. If you're in Missouri, Illinois, or Kansas, you can get in touch with the Bruning legal team at 573-400-2796, and you can just get a consultation, see if they can help you out. I bet they probably can help you out. Probably talk a little Mizzou basketball. I know those guys hate Kansas, so call them, talk about Kansas, and that's your intro. So appreciate you guys hanging out. If you, again, like, comment, share here. If you listen on the podcast, do me a favor. And not sure this one will be a podcast because apparently the audio won't be great. But if we turn it into a podcast and you're listening, share it on social media. Drew's over next door writing. I'm going to start writing now. We've got full coverage of this. Tomorrow's National Signing Day, guys. I should have said this earlier, but National Signing Day, we'll be up and at 'em by 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Letters of intent going to roll in. There's 2-3 decisions out there tomorrow. We're watching for the Missouri football team. Eli Drinkwitz press conference at 2:30. If you are here and you do not subscribe to Power Mizzou, 50% off the entire month of December on your first year annual subscription. That's full year, $53. Check us out. Appreciate you being here, and we'll do it again. See you.